So I think that's relevant. And also, I'm going to talk about the fun stuff, like how we use cannabis in our bodies to live these really happy, healthy lives. After all that good stuff happens and we get regulation in place and we get fairness in place and we can just walk into a wonderfully organized dispensary and buy what we want, this is how you use it. Okay, so that's the fun stuff. Before entering this space, I was a classroom educator. I taught mathematics at the high school level, and I had a really bad injury, so I took a slip and fall during my second pregnancy. I was 26 weeks pregnant. And I wasn't a former cannabis consumer, but I started to do some research, and it led me into cannabis as a healing component for chronic pain. So because of my former education and my job as an educator and being a teacher, and I discovered all this new knowledge, I thought, I didn't know this. I was lied to. I believed all the commercials that we watched growing up via, post-prohibition and everything that Dejanay talked about. And my dad was in former law enforcement. He was telling me drugs are bad, you shouldn't do it, and I believed it. So when I used cannabis, it was very much recreationally, it was at parties, it was on the weekends, and I thought that's all it was for. When I discovered that it could be something we could use to heal our bodies, I knew everyone needed to know this. And so that's how Club Kindness was born. They asked me to come here today and talk about now two of my favorite things, cannabis and wellness. I thought I can do that because I got 99 problems and CBD fixes like 80 of them mugs, okay? Thank you for laughing at that. But they also told me I had 10 to 15 minutes, so I thought, well, let me get into why I can make that statement and what are the things that cannabis can do to really fix those 80 out of 99 problems. How does that work? So I'm gonna talk succinctly about 3 ways. 1, physically, 2, spiritually, and 3, overall personally, how cannabis can work in the body to improve our health and wellness. Physically, cannabis has tremendous effects on the body. In 1992, that we have documented, scientifically, we discovered that we have an endocannabinoid system. Okay, that's the ECS, that's what we'll call it for the rest of the day. You want me to hold the microphone? Oh no, we're not there yet, I got this. The endocannabinoid system is a system in our bodies that has indigenous, or things that live there, cannabinoids. Okay, so this system manages our whole endocrine system. And the endocrine system, as you know, manages all of the bodily functions. You see where I'm going here? Mm-hmm. So, in short, the ECS has receptors that communicate directly with the compounds in the cannabis plant, and they work together to help regulate our bodily functions. And what we now know is that we really should be eating our weed. Yes, eating our weed, not weedies, our weed. Okay, that could be in high THC or high CBD form, and we'll talk a little bit about what that all means. The fact is, we've actually known this for a long time, but particularly here in the USA via governmental actions, we're now still struggling to reclaim access to a plant that we know was used for centuries as the main pharmacopoeia, medication, and supplement. Okay, so because cannabis contains hundreds of chemical compounds called cannabinoids, consuming it in small, regular doses, in small, regular doses means it can help us in a variety of ways. So I'm going to put up this chart and show you that. I don't know if you all can see this, but the bullet points point to the major sections of the body. And those dots are just showing you these are all the areas that consuming cannabis in small, regular doses can help. We've all heard like, oh, my aunt has glaucoma, that's why she smokes weed. Well, really, it's because cannabis is a vasorelaxant. So it really does help the ocular gland, right? So-and-so I know has cancer, they smoke weed so they can eat. Really, it's because cannabis helps with appetite control, right? It's an anti-nausea. It helps with blood flow. It helps with bone growth. These are all things that we know that have been recorded via peer-reviewed research that you can find yourself. It's available if you look. For spiritual health, cannabis can be a godsend. I entered the space through the injury, I mentioned that. Academia took me down the path of research. I found that as a solution for chronic pain, cannabis can work wonders. If you know anything about chronic pain, you also know it's typically accompanied by depression, anxiety, and all kinds of other mental health issues can follow that when you're dealing with chronic pain for so long. When I started to play around with sublingual tinctures, these are drops that you can place under the tongue. They are quick onset. I not only realized that using cannabis in small regular doses in this way kept my pain away for many, many hours, but I also figured out that I really, really liked being a little high. That's the truth. Yes, okay, right? There is nothing wrong with that. The key is to do it in small micro servings so that you learn how to manage your dose and how to integrate it, and proper integration via the right forms and applications. We've all seen what that edible overdose on the couch looks like. That's not what I'm talking about. Although, you know, we can talk about that later if that's what you choose, but we'll talk about also how to ease into that and out of it. So I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, and probably like many of you, I'm often doing too much. So when I discovered how to sit and really experiment with the effects of cannabis, and at this time it was a cannabis with higher amounts of THC in it, I also discovered that it could be an extremely powerful tool for my spiritual practice. I've been practicing Buddhism for over 20 years, but it wasn't until I began using cannabis intentionally during my meditation practice that I truly began to elevate my spiritual awareness. I realize this is kind of anecdotal because I'm telling you my story, but both historical use and plant science, modern science supports this, that when taken in small, regular micro servings and used with intention, cannabis can help to improve your mood, reduce depression, anxiety, lower your blood pressure, and many studies support the idea that cannabis helps to remove cartilage from the pineal gland, which helps us to form deeper connections with not only ourselves, but those around us. When I talk about eating weed, I know that kind of freaks a lot of people out because, again, you go back to that time when you were on the couch with your friend and they said, here, try this brownie, and you didn't know how much of it to eat, so you ate half of it, and then like 30 minutes later, you couldn't feel it, so you ate the other half of it, and then like 4 hours later, you were in the corner in a ball saying, what'd you give me? I'm talking about micro servings, okay? Those are small, those are really small. And they don't have to contain high amounts of THC because, as Robert mentioned, we can now take the cannabis plant and breed it with higher levels of CBD, lower levels of THC, which can impact the intoxication. But now, because we're in a nicely regulated market, or it's becoming more and more nicely regulated, right, we can find and choose the products that fit our lifestyle the best. We can titrate or determine the measurement of the right dose, and we can secure the products that we know we like, right? You find your favorites, as Whitney talked about. If you're going to these dispensaries now, you're starting to figure out which brands you really like, who stands out. Our cannabis consultants, our bud tenders are becoming more and more educated, so they're able to tell you the different effects each product might have. A regulated market also helps us to know what ingredients are in the products that we're taking and to learn more applications about how to use them. Organizations like mine, Club Kindness, we help consumers to navigate the market, and we can answer questions that aren't being told in general public media. Let's just take a quick second to review some of this vocab, because I can talk a lot. I want to make sure you all know what I'm talking about. So cannabis, aka marijuana, a term I do not use anymore, but I want to make sure everyone knows, right? That's the plant. Cannabinoids, those are the compounds that are found within the plant, and we now know that there are hundreds of them. And they work together via something called the entourage effect to give the most thorough experience for the consumer in that when kept together, that's when it's most effective at medicating. The endocannabinoid system, or ECS, is the system we discussed that communicates directly with the cannabis plant and mimics its activity. And then cannabidiol, or CBD, which we're hearing so much about now in public media, is one phytocannabinoid in the cannabis plant, one of the hundreds I just mentioned it has, but it's the second most prevalent. And then I didn't put up here THC, but that's tetrahydrocannabinol, and that's the analgesic, or the pain reliever, or the tumor shrinker, or the one that gets you high. And I put that last on purpose, because it's kind of getting a bad rap in this CBD market, where we think we don't need THC because we have CBD now. But really, we need all the cannabinoids. When you hear the term full spectrum, that's what that means. You're getting all of them. Lastly, just the overall personal effects of cannabis. I feel like they're obviously plentiful if we just consider one of the aforementioned benefits I just discussed. And it's bound to make your life better if you figure out some way to integrate it, whether it be in a microdose supplement form of high CBD, or whether it be that evening after dinner cigarette before you put your kids to bed so you're much nicer to them because you take that stress off instead of the glass of wine. Whether it be the micro servings of vaping you do throughout the day so you can deal with your high stress life or whatever work you do, right? If you think about all of the changes that can come from being cannabinoid efficient, as you begin to take this supplement that you have been deprived of for centuries, deprived of, because it's ours, we own it, we can grow it, we should smoke it, we should eat it, right? Get involved, make those changes. Then you can only imagine how much more well you could feel. And now, with all of the brilliant thought leaders and activists who have put forth efforts into pushing cannabis science forward, we can even isolate individual cannabinoids to get more exact results for usage. And that's a huge win, because things like THCA, which is tetrahydrocannabinol in acid form, can be that compound can be non-intoxicating in that form, but can have severe impact on pain relief. This is huge. Isolating compounds like CBG, which we now know promote bone growth and help with sleep. Let me tell you, since I started microdosing, I'm a much better wife, mother, teacher, friend, and leader, and that's real talk. If there's anything I want to leave you with today, it's these three things. Number one, eat your weed. Number two, eat it in small doses. And number three, give thanks. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, or you reach media called Kindness, we can help.
Thank you so much, Kindness. My name again